Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the EIW control room as we are on the road to stronger with a pit stop in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, where we were live just yesterday with Chapter 60 Disconnected. I am joined here in the control room with none other than, well, he played it off so well last time he was here, but Vice Commander of the Seven Sins, two-time EIW World Heavyweight Champion, and a man who had a impressive showing at Chapter 60, Disconnected. This man is Fallen. Welcome to the control room.
It's good to be back here, but what was that introduction there? Sounded like you wanted to say something other than something pleasant there.
Well, you see, the last time you were here, you straight took a shot at Connors and the Seven Sins. You said you never know who exactly was going to show up, who exactly was going to be a member. You don't know. They could be near, far, wherever you are. To turn around and find out I was sitting next to one the entire time.
Well, that's what you gotta do when you're the vice commander. You gotta make sure everything's in order. You gotta make sure everything's good for the commander. You don't want to feel that wrath of him not being happy. I'll tell you that much.
Speaking of the commander of the Seven Sins, Connors had an off week back at Disconnected. Pretty much just taking the week to kind of reflect, I heard. I know it was said that he went out and was on his, what do you call it? He was on his Honda CB250T and he went and took a flight down with his bike, as Connors wanted to flex some money apparently, and went back to the Kanto region in Japan just to ride around with the title.
I mean, he's got good taste when it comes to vehicles. I'm not gonna lie. I've been on it, and I will say it is well worth the pain that he paid for, which is a chump change compared to what he actually thinks.
Well, speaking of which, yeah, Connors has to have a lot of money when you think about it, when it comes to setting up a whole freaking biker gang with the Seven Sins. You gotta think about it, because he has to buy you guys' uniforms, maintenance on the vehicles, or on your bikes, so to say. Then you turn around, he is now paying for any sort of hospital expense for the group, make sure that the boys are fed and ready to go at any given moment's notice. Huh. Nonetheless, let's stop talking about Connors for a minute and let's get back to the agenda here at the control room. So let's just go down a quick rundown of what to expect here tonight on the control room. Do a full-blown recap of EIW Chapter 60 Disconnected. We will confirm a qualifier for the EIW Magnificent 7. Also, the rumored return of the Thunder Bastard match.
That is not how it is pronounced, sir. Allow me to correct that mistake there. And don't worry, you're not the only one that makes that mistake. So don't beat yourself up. But it is not the Thunder Bastard, sir. It is the Thunder Bastard!
Did Connors pay you to say that?
You don't take stuff like that too time. You might end up on the next chopping block.
Oh, really? We'll touch up on that in a minute. Also, a lot of changes in EIW's viewing locations. We'll go down where to watch EIW. Also, we'll open up the floor to general forum questions, and then our closing remarks here for the control room. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the recap of EIW Chapter 60 Disconnected. Now, the evening was something to behold. It was a fresh start, a clean slate, if you will, for EIW, something that not many places get an opportunity to have with the nature of everything surrounding EIW for the past couple months. So, EIW rolled into the Vortex Network, its first chapter on the network, where it was under its official title given by Vortex leadership, Vortex True North. Which, speaking of which, EIW's social media team is going to kill me because I did not follow their request. And
I'm pretty sure it's helpful. Not at the moment right now. Somebody's probably seen him back there.
yeah, I kind of forgot we are required to have the Vortex True North logo on screen now. So there we go. Don't come after me. But none.
If they come out, I'll talk with the commander to see if something can be done about them.
Well, look at Connors and you having a soft side. But oh god, I don't want to be a soldier for the Seven Sons. Nonetheless, indeed. Let's take a quick look at the match card from EIW Chapter 60. Disconnected, if I can find my notes here. Ah, yes. We kicked off the evening. It was. We kicked off the evening with Jay Rain out of the World Middleweight Division, taking on David Blake in singles action. Both men had a couple moments where their talent shone through the contest, and eventually it was a maneuver that we're starting to see more and more EIW talent bust out. It is that suplex spin out neck breaker, where you elevate the opponent up, and while they're deadlifted in the air, almost like a gourd buster, but instead of dropping them down for a brain buster, going all the way back for the suplex, shifting direction mid-air and planting them down. Where David Blake was able to pick up a much needed victory over Jay Rain, who has been struggling as of late.
I don't know if struggling is the word to actually use on that one. He's pretty much getting his part of the language is derriere. Try to keep it PG here, that way nobody gets in trouble or fines, from what I've been told. He's basically been getting his derriere handed to him. He does show off, so I will say there's been a couple times he has shown where he may get the victory, but his opponent just seems to outthink him, outmaneuver him.
That's very true, and when you really think about it, Jay Rain has been in a rut since Chapter 50, Year 4, waiting on the sky to change, where, if we reflect back upon it, it's been a very, dare I say, pardon me, it's been a rough tenure for Jay Rain. He was in the heavyweight division, back at round Chapter 50, was relegated down to the World Middleweight Division, then the Origins and British Commonwealth divisions respectively, and he hasn't found his way back up since. And what if you're in the shoes of Jay Rain, what would you be thinking about trying to use to turn around at this point we can classify it as a losing streak?
First off, I would try to get my head back into the game. I would try to figure out what I'm doing or where I'm making mistakes at, and I would try to improve that. I would try to find a way to correct those mistakes, but it's kind of hard to say when it comes to J. Ray, because sometimes he can be taken seriously, and sometimes, as we've seen, it's far to take him seriously with some of the things that he does. Granted, he does have a killer thing. I will be the first to admit that, even though I don't like the man. Solid thing. Crowd really loves it. But I would just try to get my head back in the game, because it seems like something is taking his concentration completely out. Without that concentration, you're not going to get anywhere.
Yeah, and I can understand where you're coming from, where with Jay Rain as of late, he's had a rough way to go, especially where he found himself, like I said moments ago, on the end of that suplex neckbreaker from David Blake, and it seems as if it's to the point where Jay needs to kind of get back to the fundamentals, getting back to the basics, and then rebuilding himself back up to where he has the opportunity.
Right. I can't help at times maybe even call it the reason side of me. I wouldn't really call it guilt, because I don't feel no guilty conscience for what I did, but I can't help but think that maybe I might have some part into the reason why he's out of focus. I mean, I'll be the first to admit, when he was in the heavyweight division, when I was at my highest peak, well, I wouldn't say highest peak, but my golden peak, might as well say, when I was running the heavyweight division, I basically bullied that man out of the division. I basically just kicked him out. I evicted him for not having ran on time.
Damn. Well, fair enough. Well, we have burnt our time on the opening contest. Nonetheless, David Blake defeated Jay Rain in your opening bout back at Chapter 60. As we'll keep our eyes peeled over the coming chapters to see just exactly what will happen for Jay Rain as he goes forth in his EIW tenure. And especially with the Magnificent 7 coming up, you never know what may be on the horizon. But also, going down back at Chapter 60 Disconnected, we saw Kyle Young take on the debuting Cody Sykes. Now, Kyle went into this match needing something big time, where, dare I say, for lack of a better term, Kyle's been in a rut himself as of late, and just trying to find a way to turn it around by any way, stretch of the imagination he can. And in being a part of that, it led to him pretty much getting his hands on Cody Sykes, which, well, as we all saw, for those who were able to catch the broadcast, it did not really go Kyle Young's way. Now,
no, it really didn't.
Now for Kyle, he had quite a few good moments in that contest. However, Cody, with the backing of the crowd behind him in his debut, he was able to upset Kyle Young in a surprising fashion. Not on a clear-cut pinfall, no, but more so on a jackknife-style cover, excuse me. That's what happens when you put 12 hours in at the office before coming here into the control room. But
I honestly can't hold y'all against on that one. I know exactly how that feels.
But nonetheless, Cody Sykes picked up a sneaky but impressive win over Kyle Young, where if it was in the opposite position, I'm pretty sure Kyle would have gotten a 3 count in the same circumstance. However,
I do not doubt it, especially when you're in that intense of a fight. I mean, these two were giving each other literally everything. They just boiled down to who wanted it more. Who was going to pass their, lack for better term, or something I say, past the normal limitations of man. And which in this case, it was Cody.
fair enough. But nonetheless, also breaking news coming in my right ear from EIW's officials back in the headquarters part of Emergence Arena at CN Tower. Kyle Young will feature. He will feature, one more time for the people in the back, he will feature in a Magnificent 7 qualifying match over the coming chapters, where should he win his qualifying match, he will find himself in the Magnificent 7 briefcase ladder match at EIW Stronger 2 in Toronto. But moving forward from the second contest of the evening over to the third, and it was one, I wouldn't even call that a contest, it was more of a mugging. The Seven Sins Manji Gang, fallen in the First Division captain of the Seven Sins, who we were introduced to back at Chain Reaction, Shifuyu Matsuno, took on Matt Bailey in a match that was specially requested by new EIW World Heavyweight Champion Christian Connors before he got on his plane with his bike to go over to the Kanto region in Japan to go ride around and enjoy some sunlight. He found his way to the office and requested this 2-on-1 handicap, and not just any type of handicap, a 2-on-1 tornado tag handicap match. And
boy, was that amazing.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Fallen, but there was a rumor going around, and I'm pretty sure commentary, they touched on it a little bit. There was a rumor that Connors gave an order before leaving. Can you enlighten us on what that order was?
Well, you see, I can give you a little bit of a brief on what that order is, but unless you were there or invited to that meeting specifically, you're not going to get the full details on that. But let me just put it to you this way, short and sweet here. What Bailey did to Connors in the first round was something that you don't do, especially with a family, as I put it. You can call it a gang, you can call it a bike group, whatever you want to. I call it family. Because family has each other's backs, no matter what is in front of us. And what Bailey did, trying to break not only the back, but also injure the neck of Connors to make sure he wasn't going to advance at all. I was giving an order. More of a request, I like to look at it. To give him exactly what he gave Connors. Give him a taste of his own medicine. The way I seen it, eye for an eye. He wanted to powerbomb the commander so many times. I'll give it right back to you. There's a reason why I'm the vice commander. There's a reason why I was appointed that. Because unlike most people in the back on the roster, they get soft sometimes when it comes to getting even, or want to resort to dirty tactics. We're not about dirty tactics. We're about dealing with it head on. That's basically what was discussed briefly. An eye for an eye. And I believe that was delivered crystal clear in that match.
Well, you can say that again, as Matt Bailey, he is fine, he is clear to compete. However, those power bombs, Bailey got a couple in on his own on Shifuyu and yourself. But in the end, that last power bomb, before the pop-up power bomb, was on a kendo stick that Shifuyu introduced at ringside, and you just drove the man's neck clean cut right on the edge of that kendo stick. There was no give. It was just a brutal moment all around.
See, that's what happens when you piss me or any other sins off. Game. Just be glad that it wasn't Shifu who got pissed off. Because when that man loses his temper, I can't control him. I can't stop him. Connor might be able to stop him if he puts his voice into it and shows his dominance like he does. But even at times, that's not even guaranteed. So he better consider himself lucky that it was me and not Shifu.
Shifu, he had a very unique first match in EIW where this man was airborne, dare I say, for 60% of the contest. Where there will be moments where you would be battling Matt Bailey at ringside, and we would see out of the corner of our eye Shifu going high risk in taking out Matt Bailey time and time again. And eventually, he did hit two of his signature patent maneuvers that commentaries passed notes over to me for, where it's that octopus-like stretch hold into the schoolboy driver. He calls that 1,000 Winters, where he nailed two of those, but it wasn't enough to get the job done. But in the end, it was after Shifu had to roll to ringside to catch his breath and his bearings, the pop-up powerbomb from you that got the 3 count at the end of the day and got the Seven Sins their second tag team victory. How was that for you, and have you heard from Connors since he's gone over to the Kanto region in Japan?
Well, to answer the first part, how did it feel? That match was very, how do I put it? Therapeutic for me. See, I love causing pain to others. That's just me. You can call me crazy, you can call me sick, you can call me twisted. Everybody has their own dirty desire, as some people would say. Me, I love causing pain. As far as speaking to Connor or hearing from him, yes, I did get to talk to him. He gave me a call after the match when me and Shifu got to the back and get our stuff. And he was very pleased. He gave a little bit of appraisal, but then I was giving my next orders. Myself and Shifu have our next task at hand. And we don't plan on disappointing either. We have a reputation to hold up and a code to live by. The reason why Shifu took care, I'm going to touch on that briefly for a second, why he was taking flight is because he takes the code to heart. He will sacrifice his body for us, no matter what the cost is. And he is heavily rewarded for what he does.
Yeah, would you mind enlightening us on what that next order was for you and Shifu?
Now, see, that would be ruining the surprise, man. What's the fun in telling when all the fun is waiting, the anticipation? You'll eventually find out, like the rest of them.
Ominous words from Fallen, but we'll move on to the next bit of business here in the control room, which was the next contest on the card. If I can find the card again, I know it's eluded me. Where we saw the debut, in-ring singles debut, dare I say, of EIW's new Women's World Champion, Addison Rain, as she took on none other than Aaron Cypher in singles action. And similar to how things played out back at earlier on in the evening at Chapter 60 with the jackknife cover in the match between, I believe it was Cody Sykes and Kyle Young, Aaron Cypher in similar fashion, after an intense back and forth with her and Addison, picked up a surprise pinfall over the new champion.
That's the thing when it comes to that. Addison had won the championship, which kudos to her. Something not a lot of people can say they can do when they debut to win a championship. But Aaron Cypher is a completely different breed. And as cruel as that may sound coming from me, which I don't really care, I say what I need to say. Aaron is somebody that I can tell is don't want to get on the bad side. When that bell rings, it's like a completely different person takes over. I mean, she was relentless during the majority of that match, taking control, staying on top. Yeah, it switched back and forth, but Aaron got, I dare say, about 80% of that on to Addison in that match.
Addison, yeah, she did have a nice chunk of offense, but every time she would try and get going, you just found Aaron Cypher in her way, shutting her down before she could even really get started.
That's what you call great ring awareness, knowing where your opponent's at, thinking 2 steps ahead. And that's what you need when you're getting in the ring with a champion. I can say that from experience. When you're in the ring with a champion, whether that's the women's world champion, men's world champion like Connors, you have to be 2 steps ahead. You have to have a game plan and a back plan for in case the first one doesn't go through. And that's what Aaron did. Aaron did her homework. She knew what she was getting into. She knew what she was going to have to do. She went the mile, and it paid off.
Very true. She was able to do what I didn't think was going to be able to be done, especially after the performance of Addison back at Chain Reaction. And that was pin Addison Rain clean or not exactly clean, but able to get her shoulders to the mat for the 3 count. All around impressive performance for Aaron Cypher. Moving on, we had the main event of Disconnected, which was a very interesting predicament to be a part of and witness, where Hiroshi Takada issued a open challenge on social media for the EIW World Middleweight Championship, stating that he wanted to be a fighting champion. And the gauntlet was laid out, and that gauntlet was answered by none other than the man that Connors met and was the other half of the last 2 in the ring for the EIW World's Heavyweight Championship in the finals of the Sweet Silent 16 at Chain Reaction. It was none other than Jason White. Purely pissed off on his inability to capture the world's heavyweight title, entered into this match and showed us a side of Jason White we've never seen. Dominating Hiroshi Takada and pinning those shoulders to the mat for the 3 count, becoming the new world's middleweight champion. Take the floor, Fallen.
This is one thing sorry, this heat that's going on right now is kind of messing up my speech right now. Apologies for that. Jesus. Anyways, what went through my mind with this, I'm pretty sure, it had to go through your mind as well. You talk about how he lost the chance to become world champion and he came to this match with this side. I think that loss to the world title opened up a door, so to speak, to something more aggressive than what we were seeing. Now, normally I can criticize people, point out some things that could have been better or done. But when it comes to Jason White, what we've seen, not only in the Sweet Silence, but also in this match, I have nothing to criticize. He went in with a game plan. He was angry. He showed us why he should have won the match. This man came out and took this title by force, you might as well say. He was not playing around.
Yeah.
So I have no doubts that this man is going to show us why he is and will probably be for a good while champion. And I look forward to it. I look forward to seeing what destruction he can cause while being champion.
I am genuinely curious as well what exactly we're going to be witnessing out of new World Middleweight Champion, the second World Middleweight Champion in company history in Jason White. Only time will tell, but that concludes our segment for the recap of Chapter 60. We spent quite a long amount of time on that, but nonetheless...
It was a packed card, like I said earlier, so there was a lot to cover for that.
Well, fair enough. Let's go ahead and roll right on over into something we touched on briefly earlier on in the control room, and that was the rundown of a confirmed qualifier for EIW Stronger's Magnificent 7 briefcase ladder match, where we touched on the fact that Kyle Young would be in action for a Magnificent 7 qualifier. Another one has been announced. At EIW Chapter 61, unfortunately we do not have a graphic made, but Edward Jackson returns to in-ring action as he takes on Shifuyu Matsuno, where the winner will be entered in to one of the positions for the Magnificent 7.
I'm gonna enjoy watching Shifu destroy that little turd.
Now, there is a lot of history between you and Edward Jackson dating back to your days in your second reign as EIW World's Heavyweight Champion, to where it was Edward Jackson directly who cost you your championship back at Valhalla Journey to Jotunheim, where Mike Angel's still out on injury due to the unexpected appearance and forced entry of Edward Jackson. And I can bet my bottom dollar, I'm pretty sure you have some words that you would like to say about Edward Jackson being on his way back from suspension, so I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor.
The fact that he's coming back from suspension, hell, my opinion, he shouldn't even been suspended, he should have been fucking fired. Pardon my language, sorry, got a little heated there. Apologies. I think he should have been fired just like that referee did, because that was a disgrace to the lineage of the World Heavyweight Championship. I've said it time and time again, he had no business being in that match where he stepped foot in that ring when it was a one-on-one respective competition between myself and Mike Angel. Regardless of the fact that Mike Angel would have lost for the second time to me when it comes to the world title. But you know what? It's fine. Let him come back. Let him step back in. Because there's an old saying, I can forgive, but I don't forget. In my case, I don't forgive you, Edward. I will never forget it. And I will take great pleasure in watching Shifuyu destroy you limb by limb and put you right back out as quick as you came back in here. Because now, you have no place in this division. Now, we run this division. We run all these divisions at this point, and we will continue to do it. So don't think for a simple fact or 1 millisecond that you have any chance of getting back to something that was never yours to begin with. And now that it's from Connors, I can guarantee you will never get your hands on that title again. That's all I gotta say on that little turd right there.
Well, fair enough. To recap, Edward Jackson returns from suspension to take on Shifuyu Matsuno of the Seven Sins Manji Gang at Chapter 61, Year 5, Horizon's End. Now, moving forward, I know that there has been a whole slew of questions regarding EIW and exactly where to watch the product, since we have made some adjustments over the course of the past couple weeks. So here on the screen, I'm going to post down the breakdown as to how to watch EIW. For any live shows like Chain Reaction, Dominion Series, or Last Stand, you have the option of tuning in to us over on Emergence All Access, the Twitch version, over on twitch.tv/Emergence All Access. For YouTube, for things such as the EIW Control Room, Disconnected, as well as Starlight, you have the option of tuning in to catch us here on the Vortex Network or on the Emergence All Access YouTube channel as well, where will be the archive of all things exclusive EIW. Over on Twitter, you are able to catch us on Emergence IW for match cards alongside important updates, and we have also launched a Discord to communicate and diversify our content as well, so feel free to DM the account on Twitter at EmergenceIW for the Discord link to join and conversate with the IW's roster and management team.
Feel free to pop in and say hey and talk to us. We don't bite. I mean, I can't really say that about Shifty. That means he can't be really unpredictable. The only thing I can promise you is that if you decide to act up in there, I might power bomb you once or twice. Other than that, have fun.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I have for you all here today. Thank you for tuning in to EIW's Control Room, and we will see you on the next chapter of EIW Chapter 61, Horizon's End. Have a good night.